Bezos is actually the guy, he's the richest guy in the world. He's got like $130 billion, some huge value. Yet he tells his workers, you only have a 15-minute lunch break and you can only go to the bathroom twice a day. That's it. Otherwise, we will cut your salary. And he is actually known for squeezing his workers down to the last penny. He pays among the lowest wages in Amazon in the warehouse. Very tough guy to deal with. Elon Musk, of course, some of you guys, besides him sending out Teslas into space, he also tends to be very erratic in the sense that he tends to say, I will do this one day, next day he does something else, and people can't keep track of him, and his own team keeps on trying to clean up his messes as they go along. The thing is that these are what is called toxic leaders. They don't really lead the organization based on the benefit of the organization. They lead it based on their own ego. Now, one thing you ask the question is, then how come they're so successful? Should I also be a toxic leader? No. Understand also one thing is that they are in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is a very unique world. You can be, if you're very, very good at tech and you are very, very ambitious and also very, very great at creating something, you can still be a toxic leader and make money. However, 99% of the people in Silicon Valley are not toxic leaders and they do well. And frankly, 99.99% of the great leaders in the rest of the world, where most of us live, are not toxic leaders and they do well. Right? So let's stop stepping away from that initial idea of what a leader is, and let's understand what is considered a great leader. Right? All right. So one thing you need to understand, there's no one type of leader that is important. Everybody has a different leadership style, and each leadership style tends to work well in different situations. And very often, once you understand what your leadership style is or what you want to be more like, you'll identify what situations that you work better in, how to start developing it, right? So let's talk about the first type of leader. The first type of leader is an autocratic leader. An autocratic leader is like a military commander, like Napoleon that you see here, the guy, if you don't recognize him. He basically is a guy, and most often he's a guy, who said, look, I'm just going to do what needs to be done. I will do what I want to do in this company. I will not ask my people what they want to do. I will make sure that I will give the orders and they better follow my orders to the letter, right? Basically, he said, okay, look, I know everything. I'm smarter than all of you. You just blindly follow my orders. Don't think. You're not paid to think. You're here to work and get the work done. Now, this sort of leader works very well in a military environment. So, for example, if you have to send thousands of soldiers to fight for their lives and fight for their country, they can't question your orders. The general says you go out and fight, you go out and fight. Nobody's going to, they can't question your orders. A soldier can't say, oh, I don't feel like fighting today. Let me think about it. The soldier has to follow orders. So, the general has to be autocratic. Also, outside the military, when you look at companies, very often there are companies going through deep problems. Like let's say if your company is going almost bankrupt, you have to turn it around quickly. Maybe there's a huge amount of debt. If you don't turn it around within a month's time, it'll go bankrupt totally. So you need to say that, look, I don't have to be trying to be democratic. Speed is very important. So you have to follow exactly what I'm saying. Don't question it, and we'll try to succeed. No time for being democratic. However, being an autocratic leader over the long term tends to be very demotivating for a team because people say, look, if the guy's going to just give me orders and not allow me to think, why should I think? I will just follow orders blindly. But I really want to do more than just follow his orders. So therefore, the team gets demotivated. The talented people tend to move out, and the less talented people, or let's say the people who just blindly follow orders, will stick on. But that's not great for the company overall, right? So that's an autocratic leader. The other one is Democrat. And of course, we all know who this illustrious gentleman is, Dhirubhai Ambani. The Democratic leader is a guy who always makes a decision after talking to his leadership, after talking to others, getting the best inputs from other people. He said, okay, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Dhirubhai Ambani was actually very, very well known for developing the talent below him. That's why he managed to run so many companies. He started with just a nylon trading business, then he moved into nylon manufacturing, then petrochemicals, gas, moved into other areas, retail, infotech, before he sort of passed away. But the thing is, because he developed the people under him, he was able to actually consult them and make sure that they were actually able to give them inputs to this guy for his strategies, and therefore he was democratic. Of course, it works very well if you are working in a knowledge-based environment, which a lot of companies are nowadays. If you're working in a legal firm, a consulting firm, if you're working in a technology firm where you've hired a lot of brainy people. In fact, Dhirubhai Ambani said that the smartest thing I could do is hire people who are smarter than me, just tell them what needs to be done and just get out of the way. And that was Dhirubhai Ambani's leadership style. Of course, the downside is that if you need to move quickly, being a democratic leader tends to slow down operations because you have to get 10 different opinions and come up with an overall strategy. That tends to get things very slowly. So you need to make a call as that is how democratic do you want to be as a leader. All right. Now, this guy, this young fellow is Ritesh Agarwal, the guy who runs the Oyo Rooms. He's the youngest billionaire in India, if not in Asia. And he is, this is at the age of 22. So you always feel good about the fact that, hey, at the age of 22, the multi-millionaire, and what have I been doing with my life here? So, you feel a little interested. But laissez-faire is a French word. It basically means very open-ended, very easily to do. So the thing is that as a laissez-faire, very often this happens in a startup company where the leader says, "Look, I don't know as much about how to run things as my employees. So I have full trust in my team. I let them decide everything." So, like example, you take let's say Ritesh Agarwal for example. He's the youngest guy, but all the people in his company are much older than him, especially in the early days. So he said, "Okay, look, the head of finance, let him decide how finance should work. Head of marketing, let them decide how marketing should work. I'll just be there on the ride, and I will continue." It works very well if you are young and you have an early stage startup where you have a lot of great talented people and you have to trust them blindly sometimes. Very often they may do things that you don't agree with or don't believe in, but sometimes you have to trust their experience, which you may not have. Of course, the downside is that you may land up with a lot of really disorganized business because the finance guy is going in his direction, the marketing guy is going in his direction. So therefore, you may actually not have an overall strategy because the leader is not willing to take control and say, look, this is the direction we go. So you can be laissez-faire, but it does not. It's not something you can continue for a very long time, especially if you're running a startup that needs to grow in an organized manner. Right. So that's the laissez-faire. Strategic, of course, is you take, let's say, Ratan Tata, for example, or let's say people large conglomerates. Ratan Tata, of course, before he retired, was running the Tata Group. For example, like Tata Steel, Tata Motors, TCS, Tata Telecom, so many large companies, but he was not deeply involved in each and every company, right? So obviously, he was not involved in the operations of Tata Motors or the operations of TCS or things like that. He hired great people to run that, but he basically was looking at the overall strategy of the Tata Group. So he said that, look, the Tata Group as a whole would say, okay, we will acquire, let's say, a Chorus Steel in the UK, or we will acquire, let's say, Jaguar Land Rover. The strategic part, we never actually got involved and said, okay, how do we acquire Chorus or how do we acquire Land Rover? We will just, this is a strategy, you guys execute, right? So he would look at the long-term thinking. It'd be very safe to say that the Tatas have among the longest-term thinking among Indian companies. They say, look, we don't plan for the next year. We plan for the next 25, 30 years, which is why the Tata name has always been known for ethics. Overall, there's a certain culture that the Tata companies have across all companies that is very difficult to match in other companies in India. So again, so strategic leadership works if you are at the top of a very large organization and you have great people working under you. The downside, of course, is that very often people keep on deferring to you for suggestions or inputs. So what will happen is that sometimes you may land up being a bottleneck. So there are cases where the Tata group had to be more quick, had to be quicker, had to be more efficient, but they got slowed down a lot of things and they lost a lot of business as they grew. So sometimes being too strategic and not involved in operations, making sure that everything is running well, is not the best strategy to follow. Right. So what I'm trying to do basically is trying to give you an example to say that there are different leaders with different strategies. In some cases it works, some cases it doesn't work. Right. So it's not that every leadership style works for every environment. Right. So let's talk about transformation leader. I think some of you guys may know this gentleman. He is Deepak Parekh. He is the guy who founded HDFC Bank. HDFC Bank now today is the most profitable, most successful private sector bank in India. And he runs one company. He's not strategic like Ratan Tata, where he runs multiple companies. He just has one company. But again, what he used to do this very well. He still does it. Is to say, look, my job is to get these young employees and make sure that they are transformed. I will get a bank who's bigger and bigger by getting these young people who join me at the early stage. I'm going to keep on teaching them. I'm going to keep on giving them goals to stretch towards. They will develop themselves as leaders because the best thing a leader can do is to develop other leaders around him, around her, right? So he used to do very well. He used to tell all his team is that, okay, look, here, if you want to, let's say, if you say you want to achieve a target of, let's say, 20 crores of sales, I'll give you a target of 30 crores of sales. But I will help you to reach that target 30 crores. I will teach you how to do it. I'll give you training. I'll give you all the resources, but I will transform you from a 20 crore a guy to a 30 crore guy. So he used to transform his own team, which is why more than, let's say, other banks like IDFC and other ones which started around the same time, HDFC has done way better because he was better at transforming his team and making sure that his whole team transformed. In fact, a lot of people who started with Deepak Parekh are still working in HDFC today. So he's got that magic power about him. Right? Transactional. This is obviously everyone's favorite marketing word. I don't know how many of you guys are still on Facebook or you moved on to cooler platforms like TikTok. Or I know a lot of you must be still on Instagram, but Facebook is really for uncles and aunties and your parents, not for that many youngsters. But okay, so Mark Zuckerberg, the transactional leadership style is actually very prominent in America. It's more like they say, look, I don't care what your problem is. I am giving you a target, you better perform. If you perform, you will get rewarded. If you do not perform, you'll be fired. There's no chance to recover, no chance to make mistakes. It's more like you perform or get out. So it's like a my way or the highway thing. So the thing is that, which is why you see even today in the COVID lockdown that's happening, you're seeing the largest number of unemployed people in the Western world is happening in America because America has a very transactional method of doing things. They say, look, either we are focusing on our profits. If you are not helping with our profits, we will fire you. So therefore, all the business owners said, look, we don't care about our employees. We're kicking you out. And finally, when we recover, we will hire new employees. Compare that to Europe, where the amount of unemployment is much less. Because in Europe, they're not so transactional. They say, look, we don't mind supporting our employees to a long extent. We'll pay them salaries, we pay them half salaries, we pay them 20% less salary, but we will not fire these guys. In America, they have to say hire and fire without any problem. They will lay off somebody in literally the same day. Okay, get out. There's no support. We'll take security to kick you out of the company. That sort of transactions are there. So again, the problem is in transactional leadership is that if you're not loyal to your team is not loyal to you. So you'll always have talented people just getting jobs and jumping away quickly, and you will not work for the best interest of the company. Sometimes you'll have situations where they will steal data from the company, work to sort of backstab the leader because they're not loyal to the leader. So transactions work both ways, right? It's not a great business model to follow long term. And again, just by sheer coincidence, he's a white guy in Silicon Valley, so sometimes his behavior can be accepted, but it doesn't work in a lot of environments in a lot of countries. Okay, coaching, of course, this is of course my favorite leader and most of us, Gandhi ji. Now, what he did, and this is if you look at the freedom movement, basically what Gandhiji did, it was not that he just led the freedom movement and sort of got people to align with him. He also wanted to develop his own team members. He actually gave Nehru and Sardar Patel and other people basically ideas on Satyagraha, how to live simply, how to wear khadi. He wanted to develop them into good human beings. It wasn't just enough that they were working with him. He also said, look, I want to spread my philosophy and coach my people to make sure that they are better human beings. Now, this is different from a transformational leader because the transformational leader, which I mentioned with Deepak Parekh, was somebody who said, I want to transform you guys to work better for the company so the company benefits. Gandhiji said, look, I want to create better human beings around me no matter what. And we will succeed anyway. So he made sure that he nurtured his people. He was very kind, very supportive. And he's a great coach. He was one of the best coaches out there. And you should read his book, My Experiments with Truth. It's something that will really teach you a lot about life over the longer term. Coaching actually works very well, again, in professional service firms when you are, let's say, working with a bunch of lawyers or consultants or other places where you need to get talent and need to develop them further and further. The more you coach them to develop into better and better lawyers or better and better consultants, the better your company grows as a group. So that is there. However, the downside again is that it's you're coaching these people, they become more and more independent. So what sometimes is difficult to maintain independence or difficult to maintain discipline in the organization because everybody has their own ideas and they want to develop in their own ways. So yeah, so coaching works in some environments, not in all environments. Bureaucratic, of course, is an unnamed bureaucrat sitting in a government office. This is literally strictly by the rules and they don't care about what your problem is. It's more like classic government servant. This is what the rule is. You just follow my rules and you just follow exactly what the orders are. I don't care what your problem is, just follow exactly what needs to be done. And so it works very well in traditional, those classic Lala companies or the family organization where the boss says do it, and the people below say, okay, fine, we'll just follow the boss's orders directly. And that, of course, unfortunately works in government as well. So it's inefficient, inflexible, but it works in certain organizations. Not, frankly, one of my least favorite leadership styles. So the question that arises is that what sort of leader should you be? I mean, if you want to do well as a leader, should you be democratic? Should be autocratic? Should be someone who is, let's say, coaching, or should be someone who is, let's say, transactional? What works for you? Remember, one thing is that there's no one style that works for everyone. So, for example, somebody who is very
Akhil sir, sorry for interrupting in here. I just want to check a quick thing here.
sure.
Guys, what, sir asked a question. So what kind of leadership you think based on the notes? I've just typed the notes for you. What do you guys think is the best for you? As sir is going to come to like how and which best you should choose as per your personality, or which is the best what people follow. People are saying democratic, strategic, transformational coaching. The rest of the folks, type in based on the knowledge you have. People who have joined in 5 minutes by delay, no worries. I have posted all the democratic, strategic, hybrid. Okay, there's nothing called hybrid. Yeah, once you grow up in life, there's nothing called hybrid. If Akhil sir is an autocratic ruler, he's an autocratic ruler. If I'm a democratic guy, I'm going to be democratic. There's nothing called hybrid. वो books में ठीक है. Strategic, democratic depends which industry. That's a good one, Nikhil. You try to dodge the question, but let me just go to Akhil sir. First of
Hmm.
all, we've got 235 odd people. Great, great. It's an amazing partnership. Guys, why are we studying leadership? Number one, why are we studying leadership? You pick up any resume, whether it's I'm Ahmedabad, whether it's anybody at Thadomal Shahani, whether it's at anybody at SPJ, my college, or my executive management course at Harvard Business School, or search course at Kellogg's. So in your class as well, sir, at Kellogg's, people look for leaderships. लीडरशिप का मतलब ये है कि भाई तू खुद काम तो करेगा, तू नीचे वाले 50 लोगों से और भी काम करवा पाएगा. Why MBAs are paid hell lot of money? Why we doing this session is not to teach you and give you a certificate. Anybody can give you a certificate. Why this Kellogg's guy, Akhil Shahani sir, on a Saturday evening, leaving his family, he's sitting with us to teach you कि भाई, if I can coach some leaders and you guys can pick up one of these skills based on all, there's nothing wrong what kind of style you have, but understanding then start developing कि यार हाँ मैं एक ट्रांजेक्शनल लीडर हूँ, और अगर मैं ट्रांजेक्शन लीडर हूँ तो मैं ट्रांजेक्शन लीडर हूँ, ठीक है. मार्क जकरबर्ग भी ट्रांजेक्शन लीडर है. सर just said, that's the entire objective of the entire session. So leadership is a big CV pointer. If you guys can learn leadership, it's great. Or actually you practice this in your schools, colleges, or in NGOs, wherever you're working right now. It's going to be really, really helpful, right, sir? I mean, did I summarize it well?
Absolutely correct. I think taking off from Rahul's point, the thing is that you need to understand there's no such thing as a best type of leader or a worst type of leader. There is a concept called situational leadership. That means your leadership adapts to the situation that you're in. Let me give you an example. Let's say when you are joining an organization, let's say after graduating from MBA, right? You are not going to be in charge of the organization right from the get go, right? So therefore, you cannot afford to be a strategic leader at the junior levels because obviously the CEO, the chairman can be strategic, but you can't afford to do that. You need to say that, okay, what do I do in this situation? Now, in the culture of the company that you are in, let's say, for example, you're in a company which is a very, very traditional militaristic type company that says, okay, fine, we will just make you follow orders. You follow orders, that's it, to succeed. Now, you need to understand is that what makes you succeed in your job where you are at that time. So, therefore, if you are in a company which is a classic rules based company, you may not be in a position to be a transformational or a coach. You will have to be to say that, okay, look, I will have to be a little more transactional. I will have to just make sure that I perform, otherwise, I'll be kicked out. However, while you are a transactional person in the organization, you may say, okay, fine, just as a side, I may want to help us transform some of my colleagues or coach some of my colleagues while I'm still maintaining my transactional approach. That means that because your boss tells you to be transactional and you just make sure you perform, you succeed or you don't succeed and be very, very ruthless that way. But on the side, you say, look, I also want to transform some of my people as well. So you adopt the combination of maybe transformational and the same and transactional. So that's the thing. So the idea is that, or let's say, for example, you go into, let's say, a very creative company. Let's say you join an ad agency or join, let's say, a social media firm where people are more open-ended. You can afford to be, you can get away from being transactional. You can be some another leadership style. You can be more of a coach. You can develop other people even more. You can look at many other things. So the idea is that once you understand the situation that you're thrown into, you adapt to the leadership style that you think will work in that situation. Because all leadership styles won't work in all situations, as I gave. But if you start being aware of these different leadership styles and you understand what it takes to be a transactional leader, to be a coach, to be a transformational leader, to be strategic, then you can start building up that whole range of skills that you need to apply as you go along. It's like saying that if you're, let's say, a chef, you don't want to be just a guy who knows how to make dal all the time. You need a guy someone who knows how to make paneer, how to make chicken, how to make rice, how to make Chinese. So the more multi-talented you are, the better chef you are. So the more multi-talented you are as a leader and you understand the leadership styles, the better you will be as a leader and you can adapt in all environments, right? So then the question is that how do you develop as a leader? Now, let me say this very, very categorically. If there's one thing that you leave this presentation with, is that leadership is a mindset, right? So you don't say, I want to become a leader. You say, I am a leader. Because the minute you say, I am a leader, then you start acting in the way a leader does. So let's talk about, let's say, the first point, discipline. Would a leader sleep late in bed and wake up at 11:30, 12 in the afternoon? Or would the leader say, look, I'm going to wake up early at 6:30, maybe meditate, do some exercise, start my day early? Do leaders wake up late or do leaders wake up early? If you're a leader, you maintain that discipline. Will a leader just eat any junk food, or will a leader say, look, I will eat a junk food once in a while, but I will look after my health because very often the healthier I am, the sharper my mind is. So the thing is that if you say I'm a leader, I will maintain discipline, right? Because I'm a leader. If you say I want to be a leader, you'll never have that discipline to become that, right? So that's a mindset. Start with a leadership mindset. The second thing is that do more and more projects that you have. See, the thing is that when you look at your college, or let's say when you were in college or in school, there were a lot of extracurricular activities. There were, like, let's say, okay, who wants to get involved in the school play? Who wants to get involved in organizing a college festival? Who wants to help to do, let's say, promotions of the college? Who wants to take part in college debates? There are those who said, okay, I will actually take part in all of this, and those who did not. The leaders want to take part in more projects and more events. Why? Because when you are taking part in a play, for example, you are helping to maybe organize the sets, or maybe you're helping to organize, let's say, the script. You are working with others and trying to encourage them to work with you. Number one thing, the great thing about a leader is someone who can actually influence other people to think in his or her point of view. If you are working in a play or a college festival and you can convince others to align to your point of view, or at least understand their point of view, you develop your leader skills on the fly. So the more projects you're part of, like, in college, in MBA school, or even once you join a company, the more extra work you do, the more you'll develop your leadership skills, because everybody wants to look at that proactive guy or girl who can do more projects and get work done. Nobody likes that person who sits at the back and says, look, this is my work and this is all I'll do. I don't need to do anything else. Leaders are guys who actually make an effort to do more things, right?
Right.
The third thing is learning to follow. Remember, one thing is that to be a great leader, you have to be a great follower, right? That means that you can't expect everybody to listen to you. You can't say, look, I'm a leader, so therefore my team has to listen to me no matter what. No, everybody is a leader in their own way, but that means you need to be able to say that, look, if there's an idea that somebody else in the team has that may be better, you need to take your ego aside, put it away, and say, look, I will follow what you have to say in this situation. So be a great follower. Nobody likes that know-it-all who says, look, I know everything, I'm right on everything, I'm the leader, you people follow me. Sometimes you have to lead, sometimes you have to follow. The more you're able to follow, the more you're able to lead, especially as you go up the value chain. The fourth thing is situational awareness. The thing is that, as I've said earlier, is that understand what environment you're in. Are you working in a Lala company where you have to say salam to the boss every time he walks in? Or are you working in a creative agency where people saying, okay, come up with your own ideas? Are you working with, let's say, a very hardcore investment bank where you have to work 16 hours a day and have literally work on no sleep and constantly deliver, deliver, deliver? Understand the situation and adapt your personality and leadership style to succeed in that situation. So situational awareness is very, very important.
This is amazing. I just have one point to add in here, if I can, Akhil sir, if you allow me to.
Sure, please.
Okay, so people are listening, guys. Are you with us so far? All 250 odd people. Are you guys with us? All going good? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Lovely. Okay. I'm keeping a tab. Okay. All right. Okay, going great. Guys, just to interrupt in here, and these all things which are being spoken about, being disciplined, this comes with Sir's experience at Kellogg's or leading a great initiative at Thadomal Shahani, where he's leading the entire project and he's like managing the whole show. So, like for example, doing more projects. Like there are some people who've come to this workshop to get a certificate out of it. कि मेरे को शानी सर का एक certificate मिलेगा, राहुल सर का मिलेगा, वो हार्वर्ड हैं, वो Kellogg's हैं, which is all right. But you know what? Half the battle is won because you came and you raised your hand and you registered for it. There are many other people who saw this thing and they chhad de yaar kaun jayega. So this means doing more projects. Once you're a leader, once you're a CEO, you cannot say no to anything. I manage a team, sir. I manage a team of 40 people. They're like, you must be managing 400 plus people. So I come from GE. Like GE is like the place to grow leaders. So I've been living all these things. The problem is the like मेरे ऊपर सिर्फ एक ही बंदा था CIO of GE India. That's it. The only guy whom I have to kill to become CEO was my CIO, was my boss. That's it. But rest of the people behind me and the people who were like my subordinates or people who were like by my side, they had one problem. They think adding on more work is increasing their work. देखो यार, it's a team of 100 people. My CIO will have only 5 people reporting to him in the entire India. Or those 100 people, if you want to be in the top 5, you have to definitely do something extra. You definitely have to do more project, what sir is also insinuating on. Are you guys with me? Are you guys with me? Yes or no? So do your more projects. Your CV should be full, should be massively full. It should be flowing out. You should be calling me up when you get an IM call or an SPGN call or a TSCFM call, or sir is going to interview you. Your CV you should have a master CV of 5 pages, and we can sit together and we can bring it down to 1 page. तो इसलिए कभी भी कोई भी नया काम हो, सर आपको inputs दे रहे हैं, and take this up. And one more point, sir, which I really like is the learning to follow. These kids, I trust me, guys. I won't say one loose statement, but think it up. The only difference between a nalaik bacha and a hushiyar bacha is nalaik bacha thinks he knows it all. Sanu sab pata hai. I know it all. मुझे क्या अखिल सर Kellogg's क्या बताएंगे? That's the only problem. If you want to be hushiyar, I manage a lot of IIT Bombay kids. Holy shit, sir, they are like sponge. They come to me and eat my head off, and they are like, sir, और बताओ, how can I get? Are you guys with me? So भाई इसलिए आपको नालायक हो तो भाई कोई टेंशन नहीं है. Always ask for more things. I'm just making it sounding more Hindi so that it gets in your head what sir is talking at a great level and in a great pitch. But I want to give you my input as well because कुछ miss नहीं होना चाहिए मेरे बच्चों का. That's why, sir, I'm stealing your show. Sorry for interrupting again.
No, definitely. I think it's a great addition to what we were talking about in leadership. I think that mindset of what you said is that learning to follow and actually trying to, like, say, be like and not like. I think that's something that should resonate with most leaders. And I think just taking a point, Rahul, the thing is that one thing that all of us need to remember is that we all graduated from the 10th standard with a group of people. Compared to the others, where are we today? We will all graduate from our BCom or BTech or whatever, BE, with the same group of people. Where will we be in 10, 15 years from now compared to them? Now, in Rahul, I'm sure you must be knowing that you must be looking at some of your batchmates, but what did you do to become such a successful entrepreneur and CATKing and all compared to some of the others? It is, I'm sure, stuff like this. You already know this. You already were doing more projects. You did do a lot of, had a long self-discipline. And one thing, let me just say to everyone here is that being a leader is actually not easy. It's actually, you tend to work harder than anyone else. Other people are enjoying life here, going to restaurants, movies, and all that stuff. But you're the guy or girl who's actually sitting up late at night, working on something, trying to improve themselves, trying to improve the environment. I'm sure, Rahul, like me, you probably don't sleep hell of a lot, or you have you're constantly out there thinking new things and coming up with new ideas and constantly working towards. You're probably like, I'm sure everyone in your company works very hard, but you are probably one of the hardest workers in your company because as a leader, you have to work harder. That's it. There's no shortcut to it.
I try to get my 8 hours sleep, but yeah, it's always on my mind. I do a live with all these students at 1 a.m. in the night because this is the
Yeah.
time, not because I'm awake, because these guys are awake. So yes, and as you said, inspire others. I try hard, sir, to make sure that these kids get inspired and they can do great in life.
Well, there you go. In fact, it comes to the next point about inspiring others. The thing is that the great leaders always do inspire other people because ultimately the point is not to make people to follow your orders. You have to inspire them to become better people and become better versions of themselves, and also support you and your ideas and as you go along. The fourth thing, which I think is great, I mean, I'm going to just go run quickly through the last three because the thing is that I think we need time for questions as well. So basically, just keep on learning. I mean, the thing is, all this stuff is very obvious. Keep learning, resolve conflicts, be a good leader. But ultimately, the thing is that, as I said, the minute you say I'm a leader, you start thinking of yourself as a leader. You will act as a leader. Once you start acting as a leader, all this stuff becomes a little more obvious and a little easier to do. Because the minute you say that, look, I'm the one who is a leader and I will add value to the world, my job is to make sure that I can expand more and help other people as a leader. The way that mindset is deep in your mind, then suddenly all this stuff will be easy. Right? So great. So I think I'll open it up to questions now and happy to answer whatever you want and as long as you want. Rahul,
Cool.
any
Yeah,
questions?
sure. Any questions, guys? You guys have, sir? I have a question which I want to ask you personally as
Sure.
well. And guys, please posting in questions. I'll pick up one or two. But I have a personal question which I'm sure you will be able to resonate as well.
Sure.
Yeah, Mayank, it's on a similar line. Sir, there's a big buzzword regarding profile. I am spending a lot of time with my students. In fact, we've opened up Engage 7x Academy along with people who are experts of blockchain and
Mhm.
digital marketing and leadership. In fact, there are guys
Right.
from Bentley University, US, who are coming on board. So, what kind of do you think it's going to be really good if these guys have a habit to keep on learning new technologies like blockchain and marketing excellence or fintech per se or martech? Do you think it's going to be good for them?
So I think that no learning goes waste, right? So for example, let's put it this way, right? So for example, at one point, blockchain is again a new technology that's coming into prominence. And so for example, like while I was in the lockdown, I did a course on data analytics and business intelligence just for, I didn't have to, but I thought, let me learn that. And also I've learned a course on neuromarketing online. Again, because the thing is that to get knowledge keeps on shifting, the market changes very rapidly. Trust me, and this is I'm saying that as the owner of an MBA college, and I'm sure you agree that whatever you learn your MBA is going to be obsolete in 2 years' time after you graduate. You have to
Right.
keep on learning. What I learned in Kellogg in the 1990s, I can't use any of it today besides the basics, right? So the thing is, you have to keep on learning. Remember one thing: learning, education is not what you get in college. Education is what you get in life. So every moment that you have, find a way to learn, which means, and the way to look at it is to understand is that, okay, you have exactly the same 24 hours as Rahul has, as I have, as Ritish Agarwal has. Nobody has more time, nobody has less time. The question is that what do you do in those 24 hours? So even after you take away this 8 hours of sleeping, can you say where my time going? Is my time going and doing TP on TikTok and looking at WhatsApp forwards, or can I spend that time learning something new? Because you have the same 1 hour. So therefore, when you are awake and let's say you have the time from let's say 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. tomorrow, what are you going to do with that 1 hour? What you do in that 1 hour, will you learn? Will you waste it? Will you just while away your time? Will you worry? That will keep on adding up and making a difference to your life. So as much as possible, learn in any case. Learn from websites, learn from books, learn from other people. Always surround yourself with positive learning experiences, basically.
This is great. There are a lot many questions are coming in. One Asmita has asked a question. I like that question actually. So this question is about like if you become arrogant. I'm a leader. I am the owner of Thadomal Shah Group of Industry, we have to call it. I'm Mr. Shahani and I'm Rahul Singh, director of CATKing and seven other companies.
Right.
Leadership picture head sometime. And how to deal with that?
Okay. So, the most successful leaders are the ones who are the most low profile. The thing is, if you, okay, so actually you should do this, right? So, open up, go to the website Forbes 100 Richest Indians. in all the 100 richest people in the world. Outside the, let's say, two or three names in the top, most of them are people you never heard of, and they've earned billions. Give an example, like let's say a guy called Dilip Sangvi, right? Dilip Sangvi runs a company called Sun Pharma, right? He's like the third richest guy and he's a self-made guy because, okay, all due respect to Mukesh Ambani, he inherited his wealth, right? And so Dilip Sangvi basically is the second or third richest guy. Started a pharma company from scratch as a trader in Calcutta. The most humble guy, never comes in interviews, never comes in the newspapers, always wants to be down and not known because he realizes the strength of the company is based on the people around him. And nobody wants to work for an arrogant guy. Let's be honest. Nobody will ever follow an arrogant leader for long, an autocratic leader for long. So therefore, if you say, I am going to be a leader, I'm going to make sure that I am where I am today is a combination, frankly, of a lot of it is luck and being right place, right time. So, for example, like let's say, very often, let's say, if Bill Gates was not born in Silicon Valley or let's say California at the right time when computers were taking off, let's say he was born in, let's say, Taiwan in the 1950s, where would he be today? Not so much. So, a lot of it is based on a combination of luck, right place, right time, and of course, using your skills and all. But never ever be arrogant and being arrogant is the minute you know, very often you know you're arrogant. If you see yourself acting like a jerk to other people, you know you're arrogant. You already know you're arrogant. If you choose to say, I will not be arrogant, you will not be arrogant. And also remember, no arrogant people last for long. No, it's false.
Very true. Very true. This is so amazing. No arrogant people are going to last long for sure. There's one very interesting question, sir, about in an interview, how is evaluated the person's leadership quality? Because okay, great. So, how would you must have taken like hundred thousands of interviews in your past life. You finished your MBA in 1990s. I mean, I was like 5 years, 4 years old that time. So, so you finished the MBA that time, and how would you check? These are all 300 plus people in here, guys. Are we 300 plus? Just say hi in the chat. I want to see your hi on the chat. Just say hi, hi. I want to see are we massively full? Are we full? Okay, okay. All right, okay. We are full. Okay, we are full. Okay, great. How would you get to know all the Vivek, Vidit, Rahul, Arpita, Umang, Anshu, Maev, Kavita, and so on? That who are the leaders whom you want to hire, or Anvisha and Mir Kotharis of the world, sir? What are the 2, 3 skills you want to check in their resumes?
So ultimately, let's put it this way, and it goes back to the points I spoke about revenue leader. Ultimately, I would say the personal in your resume, do you have more projects happening? So, for example, like let's say if I look at okay, how do I know the way I can figure out leadership is by looking at the CV and maybe the interview. Frankly, they're the two major things. I mean, all due respect to academic scores and CAT marks and all, that's very good, but that is great. But the thing is that outside of that, because now today getting high CAT scores also a lot of people are getting that. So beyond that, what's the additional thing? So if I see in a resume the person has done more projects, has done more things than other people in terms of, let's say, was he or she, let's say, involved in a college festival? Did he do an internship on the side? Are they doing any social work? Stuff that they didn't have to do, but they choose to do. That means that they're proactive and they're willing to do more. That's one thing. The second thing is very important is that when I'm interviewing them, right, do they come across as knowledgeable or do they know their stuff? So very often, a lot of people tend to just sort of embellish their resumes or just talk in the air. There's so many people that like to just show off that they know things, but once you start asking them deeper and deeper, you realize that they actually don't know anything, right? So I'd rather say somebody is able to talk with confidence about what they know. And if they do not know the answer, they will say very clearly, Sir, I do not know, because that shows a certain amount of ethical grounding and understanding that, look, I know what I can do, what I can't do. Situational awareness. Understand that, look, I am not everything. I'm disciplined. So therefore, if I do not know some, I will tell you I do not know it. I will not just try to BS you and try to pretend that I know something, right? And of course, the third thing is that I start looking at certain hints in that. Does he look like they're disciplined? How are they dressed? How do they approach? Classic case. Somebody walks in and says, "Hey, I'm not going to shave today because I don't feel like shaving today." That's not discipline. I mean, I'm sorry, but the thing is that ultimately, if you are coming to, let's say, join a company and organization, you need to give that respect to the organization you're joining. Because ultimately, so for example, like saying that, would you go to someone's wedding in torn jeans and your ACDC Metallica T-shirt and like that messy hair? You're not, because you're giving respect to your family or your friend who's getting married. Same way, when you walk into an organization, if you respect yourself enough and you have the discipline to come across as well dressed and have that certain amount of dignity, you have that discipline that makes you feel like you're a leader. And of course, there are a lot of other things that I really can't get into because a lot of that is based on body language and certain indicators, which as you become more experienced as an interviewer, you will start discovering. But frankly, if I have evidence to see that they've done more projects, if they come across as disciplined and they speak with a certain amount of authority and they are willing to say, I don't know if they don't know it, I think that is good.